Oh, welcome to a very special Sharp Talk today, a little bit past 1 p.m. on the East Coast on a Saturday afternoon on what I hope to be an amazing Rumble exclusive. I have with me today a friend of mine, someone who I've known for many years, a guy who is very much concerned about personal finance, a guy who's very much concerned about individual people moving themselves forward against a system that will sometimes try its best to crush you. The man himself, it is Jerome Bell. How are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you, Larry?
I'm doing great. Now, the thing that you have talked about often, and the thing that has always connected with me personally, is you have always been concerned that too many people, particularly Americans, they're not financially literate, that they're not taught about it. We don't discuss it. Please walk down that road with me. Go ahead.
Yeah, we kind of been taught the wrong things in school. We all have that intuition, and so even like how we deal with inflation, we freak out about it, and it's this endless cycle. We know it's continually an issue, and we pretend like there's a way for it to go away, but it's that way by design, right? Like the Federal Reserve, it would not even everybody knows what the Federal Reserve is, but that's the central bank of the United States of America. That's the bank's bank. So that's Chase's bank, Wells Fargo's bank, Bank of America's bank is the Federal Reserve. And they
I've actually heard
intentionally,
people, Jerome, literally tell me, Larry, we don't need a central bank, right? We don't have one. We have a Federal Reserve. We don't have a central bank. People
right?
literally tell me that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Miseducation, and is right. A
Yes.
Federal Reserve note on every dollar, right? And so they intentionally target a 2% inflation rate. So they're
Right.
intentionally creating a certain level of inflation. They have their reasons, and I don't agree with them. But so then the idea of trying to quote unquote stop inflation is by that way by design. So what we really care about is buying power. That's really the only concept
Mm.
that people need to understand is buying power. So, concrete example, most people probably heard this. Oh, if you had an ounce of gold in the 80s, you could say buy an Italian suit. Well, with an ounce of gold today, you can still buy an Italian suit. So, really, that's the idea is that this commodity, an ounce of gold, will lock in buying power over time. So when we're talking about building wealth or being financially literate, we want to one, be able to lock in our buying power one way or another, but then we also want to increase our buying power over time. Take that 1 ounce of gold in the 80s, and instead of it buying one Italian suit, how do we make it so it'll buy two Italian suits? So increasing our actual buying power.
Well, it's funny you bring this up because I remember someone told me this, or maybe I saw it on a YouTube video. I forgot where I heard it years ago. Someone said that generally speaking, the ounce of gold, as you mentioned it, has basically been able to buy the same thing for like 1,000 years, like since like the Roman Empire. Like you
Hmm.
could buy a certain amount of living, right?
Yeah,
As a Roman with that amount, as you could with an American today, right? Like that's been steady. And then that same person said, maybe we should stop thinking of things that are tied to the dollar and instead think of things that are tied to gold. So it isn't the value of gold to the dollar, it's the value of the dollar to gold, like the opposite of that. It's a whole different concept. Does that mean that you think precious metals are important, or does that mean we just have to understand that whether we are involved in precious metals or not?
it's the understanding because
Okay.
also, I'm a big crypto guy. And where I go
Mhm.
against the grain is that you hear a lot of crypto people, they'll trash talk precious metals. I think they're doing it for personal gain. I'm saying, as a pro crypto guy, 1,000%, I think you need to first have some level of precious metals in your portfolio and understand it, and then incorporate crypto. And you're talking to a guy who's a crypto guy. So it's really about, again, buying power. That's the only thing you need to just keep in as center, buying
Well,
power.
let me go a little off topic if you don't mind. And I'm
Yeah.
saying this because I was at the Bitcoin conference last year,
Hmm.
and when Donald Trump and RFK Jr. both spoke at that conference, and what RFK Jr. brought up was the idea of a reserve that would help back our money, but he didn't say crypto reserve. he said a combo. He talked about what you're talking about. He said you have to have a reserve of both precious metals and cryptocurrency, and that together could eventually stabilize our dollar and make it valuable. That's what he said. Now, if you don't want to talk that road, I'm happy, but do you want to talk about this? This is what he said.
Yeah.
Right, wrong, about?
Right. So George Gammon. I don't know if you heard of George Gammon. He made a video sometime. Yeah. He made a great video on YouTube. It's called "Why Gold and Bitcoin Don't Matter." Now, it's
Why
slightly
gold
facetious.
and Bitcoin don't matter. Okay.
Right. So it's being slightly facetious, because but basically the idea is yes and no. So on the one hand, when you have something that's intrinsic value, like precious metals, gold, and I would argue, yes, at this point in time, Bitcoin does have intrinsic value, it has intrinsic utility at this point in time. Now, that being said, there's always people want to leverage those commodities.
Okay.
And that's when they're creating money out of thin air. There's always going to be a demand for creating money out of thin air, which is to leverage, which is to put up the gold and Bitcoin as collateral and get this other new currency. So basically, value in motion is more valuable than the thing itself. So the movement, the transacting of gold and the transacting of Bitcoin is more valuable than the gold or Bitcoin itself.
Literally what we get mad at the Fed for doing, right? Isn't that what we get mad at the Fed for doing? Isn't this? And my argument here, and maybe off topic, but I think it's interesting to talk about anyway. Is I am kind of concerned with the American economy because of this, and I don't just mean the Fed. I mean in general, finance, as you know, and we'll talk about later, I'm sure. Finance and debt, important, valuable. We need to be able to finance things. We need to be able to go into debt. That matters for business, for entrepreneurs, for everything, for housing. It matters, of course. My worry is the American economy has too much of the financial services as a percentage of its economy, so that too many people are, just to your point, just making magic money, and not enough are making things or providing services. They're just making magic money. Again, we need someone to do the debt, of course, but it should be like, I don't know, 1% of our population or whatever it should be, right? And if you look at what it is now, when you add things like insurance and such, it's like, depends on what you count as finance, it can go as high as 20%. Way too high. Am I wrong in this?
No, you're definitely not. Well, for the sake of America, you're right. So globalists would completely disagree with you, because in the view of a globalist, they're saying, let America be the financiers of the world and let other nations be, focused on commodities or services. So a globalist would disagree with you, hence they're a globalist. Now, where I stand, the personal finances, the globalists are actually correct fundamentally in their thinking, which means they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, meaning they're not putting all of their wealth in this thing called the United States of America. Every individual, in my opinion, should have that mindset as well. Should America fall, you should be okay.
Right. Sure.
And so now there's an ethical way to do that. And that's what I'm concerned about, is how do we do that ethically on a personal level, but also building a community of other individuals who are trying to do this ethically by having a global mindset, but having a locally responsible implementation.
Wow. Well, I already have a couple questions for you. Can I grab a couple questions?
Yeah.
All right. One is, a question is, have you ever had a Series 7 or Series 63 license?
No. I work with people who do, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you work with those people. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
And another question is, let's see if I can get this here. What is the intrinsic value of Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Precious metals are clear. Crypto is not.
Yeah. So it's the ability to have censorship, transfer of value. So when Russia was under, in fact, I think they still are, but when Russia was under sanctions, they were trying to basically cause suffering to the people so that they would rise up against the government. All right.
Sure.
It is what it is. So if you have family and friends in Russia, then they're messing up their currency, which is the ruble, correct?
Right.
No, not the ruble. Yeah.
The
So
ruble. Yes.
yeah. So then basically, if you want to support family and friends, not the government, but the citizenry, then you could send them Bitcoin so that they can literally buy bread. And so that was actually happening because
But my question is, I think, and I think what his question is,
yeah,
what I think
that's the
means.
intrinsic value. The utility is the ability to transfer value.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So so it's not like the Bitcoin is worth $5 normally or something like that. Got it. Okay.
Right.
So the value in the Bitcoin is its ability to transfer. But in theory, is Bitcoin any different than any other cryptocurrency, right? So couldn't Ethereum still do the same thing in theory? Couldn't Litecoin do that in theory? Or is Bitcoin different?
Bitcoin would be the greatest candidate because it's strictly designed to be an actual current. That's a lie. On paper, it's designed to be an actual.
On paper, yes.
Right.
Yes.
So let me tell the truth. Ethereum is not designed to be a currency for general transacting in the economy.
But people use Ethereum far more for transacting than they use Bitcoin.
Right, because they're both failed experiments. They're both excellent proofs of concept. They were not remotely close to production ready. You're looking at like a weekend project that got exposed to the world. So it's almost like you had a genius weekend project and then people just ran with it irresponsibly. That's my opinion. But you're right. Any currency will do. It just needs to be designed to do to serve as a global reserve currency.
So if I do my Bitcoin thing, as you say, right, and I want to help out my friends in Russia or whatever area that I want to help my friends out, so I send them X amount of Bitcoin, whatever that number is. Does it retain its value? I get that it does its job for the time, right? For the time being, it does its job. They're in trouble. I want them to go buy bread. I don't want them to starve. So I send the Bitcoin. The guy who sells bread, he accepts Bitcoin. That's awesome. But does that Bitcoin then retain value afterwards? After the crisis is over, right? It did its job for the crisis. Well done. Happy. But did I just now lose my money? Did the baker lose his money? Is it gone now?
Yeah, the answer is it doesn't matter. As long as they were able to buy bread during that period of time, mission accomplished. And this goes back to buying power. So what we want is cash flow, and we want a diverse portfolio of cash flow. So whatever I have in precious metals, at least a portion of my precious metals is producing income. Whatever I have with Bitcoin, a portion of my Bitcoin holdings is producing income. That way, if any of them fall, lose value temporarily or permanently, I have cash flow from different asset classes or different types of income producing assets.
Got it. Okay. All right. I get it. So now we're talking about the idea of buying power, which I agree. I like the concept of buying power tremendously. And I remember, I tell the story often, the first time that I actually understood inflation, I was a little kid. I was probably like 7 or 8 years old. And I went to the pizza joint where I lived in the Bronx, and I went to go buy pizza. And pizza, I'm showing you how old I am, used to be 40 cents a slice. Yes, I know. That's how old I am. It used to be 40 cents a slice. So I went down to the place and I got my slice of pizza and I gave him 50 cents and he gave me a nickel back. And I went, no, you made a mistake. I get a dime back, right? Because I was counting how much I could buy for candy, right? I was like 7. So I was counting. I got some pizza and some candy. I got it covered, right? So he gives me a nickel back. I said, no, you got to give me a dime back. It's 40 cents. He said the price went up. I was like, what? The price went up. Prices don't go up. I'm 7. Prices don't go up. I don't know what inflation is. I don't know. Prices don't go up. I'm 7. That can't happen. And then when that happened, I was like, what? I was like scarred for like years. Like, wait a minute, prices go up? How is that a thing? Right? So like, I couldn't get all the candy I wanted that day because I only had 50 cents. That's all I had. So I go home and I tell my parents, hey, the price of pizza went up. And I'm like, the world's ending. They're like, welcome to reality, kid. They're like, that's how it works. So I know I'm joking, but my point was that buying power was a big deal because my parents would give me a quarter every once in a while. So when I got 2 quarters, I knew I could get my buying power. I could get pizza and some candy. Yeah. That went away. That changed because of inflation, to your point. Now, obviously, I still like pizza and candy. I don't eat them anymore, but I still enjoy them more. But the buying power piece is a key. So how do we keep that in our head? I get the concept. How do I, as an individual person, how does that manifest itself in my daily life, in my financial life?
It means money should your money should always be moving. It should always be producing something. So you'll have a little bit that's just sitting there, for basically purchasing this. You're maintaining your lifestyle, but the bulk of your money or the bulk of your assets should be producing interest, should be producing a yield, bottom line. And so as long as that's your mindset, that everything should be productive. It's almost like every single asset you have as an employee, they should never just be sitting there. They should be doing something. If that makes sense.
So the concept here is I should be looking at my assets, the best of my ability, to be making money in some way, shape, and form so that I can maintain my same buying power or more buying power over time.
Right. And that's the problem with your typical bank savings account. They give you 1%, if that.
Yep.
Right. But inflation, we know what it is well over 1%. So whatever you have in your typical bank savings account, it's leaking buying power. And so that's the problem. And we know
like that. It's leaking buying power. I'm going to steal that. It's leaking buying power. That's good.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you then talk about knowing this when you're young. And I remember, I think it was one of those finance gurus who was talking about, the idea that you should be thinking about investing when you're young. And you should be continually investing when you're young and not thinking, this is his view. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying what he said. He's saying you should not be thinking about swapping out much at all. You should be thinking about a lot of constant investment every month or every year or whatever the case may be, so that over time you have a bunch of money. That was his mindset, right? Just always buy, Bitcoin or whatever's your investment, but buy it every month, even if it's only like $10 or $20 a month, whatever. Buy it every month forever. Like, to buy it. So by the time you're 40 or 50 or 60, you got tons of money that you've put away. And he was talking about the bank, like you were talking about. It's like the bank's not going to do it. You put it in the bank, you're in trouble. You got to be invested in something, whether that's stocks or bonds or whatever it is, constantly, every month buying. Do you think that's a good idea? Not a good idea? Is that in the right world?
My response is almost like it's beside the point. Practical common sense is what's going to boil down to. So even as you said that, if a person says, does that make sense to me? If the answer is no, simply don't engage in it. Because the first thing I'm thinking is, okay, if I do that, number one, did it work for you? And number two, did it increase your buying power or at least maintain your buying power? Right. So I'm looking for people who kind of volunteer that information. How did the strategy that I'm putting on the table impact my personal buying power? If they don't volunteer that information, I'm a little suspect, and I want to dig in further.
Okay, I'll buy that. I still remember when I was my first bank account. I was probably 16, maybe 16. I had my first job. And this is the early 80s. And I went to a bank account to put my money in a bank account, and they gave me a gift. This is before the savings and loans thing. This is before, right? It was before all the changes, right? So they wanted me to they gave me, I'm not making this up, they gave me an electric can opener. I remember because I gave it to my mom. It's like a little electric can opener opens, it was a gift, right? Every time you open an account in a bank back then, they would give you a little gift to open up an account. You had to put like $100 or whatever the amount was. I forgot. I got paid. So I got a check. There was no direct deposit then. So I got an actual check. I deposited it someplace. So I went, opened a bank account, put my check in it. And they were like, okay, here is, a little can opener. And I remember my mom was talking about, if you're making some money, why don't you put it into a certificate, a deposit, right? A CD. And I was like, oh, okay. Is that a good thing? So I went, and you may fall out of your chair when I tell you this, Jerome. Back then, you could do a 2-year CD and you got 10% interest on it.
Okay.
Yes. Back then, you can get 10% interest on a certificate of deposit at a bank. Well, if you were getting 10%, I could see why you would do that, right? I could see that, right? But we're nowhere near that now. That's not a thing. So, but let me go to the next, if I could. There are banks now who are trying to get close to this. There's those banks where there's no like basically digital banks. There's no there's no place to go. There's no physical bank. It's all online, right? And they can give you those what they call high yield accounts, and they give like 3-4%, which again compared to 10 is not great, but compared to the 1% you get at a regular bank, it's crazy. Do you have any feelings on the high yield bank accounts?
Well, I like how you do a kind of trip down memory lane and look at the history, because it kind of begs the question: how are banks making money? Right? If they're changing what they're doing, how are they making money? And if it's possible, can I just get around the middleman? Do I really even need a bank at all? And so if you look at where banks, how do they make their money, or kind of where do banks store their money? This is kind of surprising, but a lot of it is actually in life insurance.
Yes.
Call it corporate-owned life insurance. Yeah.
Yes.
So then it's like, okay, that's not intuitive, but you kind of go down that rabbit hole of life insurance, and you're saying, could I basically do whatever the banks are doing with life insurance? Could I do the same thing directly? And so the answer is yes. It's not mainstream quite yet, but some people call it infinite banking or self-banking. Some insurance agents know how to do it, some don't. They'll look at you like you're purple. But this has been done for over 100 years. Walt Disney used the strategy to start, Disneyland. Ray Kroc, who made McDonald's what it is today, used it. Senator McCain, a lot of President Kennedy, they use life insurance like it's literally a bank. And the devil is in the details. It makes sense. The average person can understand it, but you need to sit down and digest the information one bit at a time, and it will click. It will click.
All right. So
so what people do is they create their own high yield account. Go ahead.
So if you're listening to this right now and you're curious about it, you can go check out Jerome. You can reach out to him. His contact information is here. His contact information is on the show description on the Rumble link. Check that out. You can reach out to him directly and ask some questions about this. Do you want to chat about some of that now?
The insurance?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the headline, is that you can create your own. It's not that you can just create a high yield account, because when you use insurance as a bank, you get uninterrupted compound interest tax free. And that's what,
okay.
Yeah. What you don't get even in a bank savings account, and even if you're high yield savings account, which is great. I mean, I say it's better. You still get taxed on it. But with insurance, you can get uninterrupted compound interest tax free. And additionally, and most importantly, you can double dip with it. Now, this sounds impossible, but this is exactly what Walt Disney and Ray Kroc did. You can take money out of the account, and it'll still get uninterrupted compound interest tax free, as if the money never left. And so you can literally use your dollar in two places. Now, let me just say this up front. What you're doing is you're putting your policy up as collateral to get a loan.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay.
That tripped me up for the longest time. I'm like, this sounds like some shady stuff. So basically, but at the end of the day, you are still double dipping, because when you take out a loan, and I know you know this, but you get a loan tax free. Any income from when you get a loan, that is received tax free, and you don't have to report it. So it's really powerful when you can double dip. I have a whole class on just that piece.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad people should know that. I love it. Guys, if you like what you're hearing, then do me a favor, please repost this if you would. Click that like button. Every like does matter. Please do that. So I want to make a shift then because we went into that loan piece. Loans are nice for personal. I like it. But if it's just a personal loan, then often that's not really going to grow your money. I'd be more concerned, if at all possible, that I would do a business loan or some kind of entrepreneurship growth or something like that. You are a big proponent of entrepreneurship. You believe that you should know financial literacy, investments, and then some type of business, right? This is where your head is, some type of business. Am I right?
Absolutely.
So then how does one make that shift? I mean, mentally, I've been told, right, since I was a kid, go to college, go into debt for college. In fact, go into a lot of debt for college. And don't worry, there'll be a great business just waiting for you, right, for you there. And then get a job, get a good salary, and you'll be fine. But I think a lot of Americans now are realizing that's not how it works. Like, that's not real. So how does someone go from a mindset of, I'm doing the right thing, Jerome? I'm doing the right thing. Why are you, this is wrong. I did the thing. I went to college. I got the loans and it's not working for me. How do I make that shift to, I guess, even maybe not feeling like a victim? I just want to take charge. How do I do that? Because right now, if I'm 40, I'm making that number up. I'm an older millennial, right, in that area. I'm probably feeling cheated.
If you're asking the question, how do I make the mental shift? It's already happening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So really what I encounter is the people who aren't willing to talk about buying power. The eyes glaze over, right? And they get disinterested. They're not open to it. So you respect that, wish them well. But when people are starting to ask those questions, I just listen. Let them ask the questions, and I try to provide them with whatever practical help I can, or connect them with somebody who can give them that practical help. But the person you're describing is the person who's on their way to entrepreneurship.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So now I'm an entrepreneur, or I'm thinking about it. How about that? I haven't gone there yet. I'm thinking about it. Maybe I start with a side hustle first, right? Like I do. I'm an Uber driver, or like I try the side hustle first to kind of dip my toe in it. And a lot of people do that, right? I do something like that. And then I say to myself, I really want to shift and adjust. I really want to shift or adjust. How do I get that cash to make that move? Because the odds are I don't have a lot of cash, right? If I had a lot of cash, I probably would be happy already because I make tons of cash. But I don't make the cash, so I'm feeling something's wrong. So yeah, how do I get that money? Do I just save it up? Do I make a 5-year plan to save that money up? Do I invest? Do I go get a loan from a bank? Right? Do I loan my life insurance? Do I do that? Right? What do I do?
Right. Part of it is all the above, and you do what makes the most sense to you. And one of the things is there's nothing wrong. Yes, you want to. The banks want to loan money more so to businesses than people. Okay, so you're actually. Go ahead.
You're saying the bank wants to loan to businesses more than people? What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So they are willing. So literally, the initial amount of money that they're willing to give to a business is more than the initial amount that they're willing to give to a person. So even when you talked about when you opened up that first checking account, right? If you were to ask for a personal loan day one, think about how much they would have been willing to give you. They don't know you from Adam. But if you have a actual legal business entity with the EIN, which is an employer identification number, basically a social security number for a business, for those who may not know, they're willing to give them but typically $50,000 plus as like a fresh
Wow.
business entity. So that's why I'm saying they're more willing to give credit.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
well, is there logic? Is the logic in the banking institution? Is it okay if it's just Jerome, then it's just some dude? But if it's Jerome Inc., whatever that Inc. is, that means he's more serious?
It's more like legal, and this is kind of confusing, admittedly. Legally, like a LLC, a limited liability company,
Yeah.
is a legal person.
Right.
And because it's a legal person, they cannot discriminate. And more importantly, they do
Oh,
not
interesting.
discriminate. They do not discriminate. In practice, they do not discriminate. So they look at, so when you come in the front door, they see you literally, physically. And then you're almost at the mercy of whoever you're talking to, the flesh and blood person you're talking to. You can have, when you have an EIN or LLC or any corporate
Right.
entity, there's a way to 100% electronic apply for credit. And by definition, there is no prejudice, bias, or discrimination. It cannot exist.
Okay. So they look at, because it's a person, they look at this S corp or this LLC. You have the EIN, which is basically the same as, in this case, it's basically the same as a social security number, right? As far as the bank sees it, it's the same.
Right.
And they go, okay, so I'm ready to give you some more cash.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, I always think that the number one issue is a business plan. I've heard that 1,000 times, right? You got to go to the bank with a good business plan, and then they give you the money. Is that true?
Mm-hmm. Well, the fact that you're asking it means you know it's not true. And everybody who shares that advice, they know it's not true as well. So then why do we keep perpetuating?
Yes, we keep doing that. You're right. Yes.
Yeah. Ain't true.
Yes. Got it.
Business plan is completely irrelevant.
I've actually told people just do a one-pager, you'll be fine. But in any case, I've actually told people that. All right, so now we're walking down this road and we're going towards that. You have talked about a plan. Maybe it's not a plan. An idea. Maybe it's an idea to raise money as a small business, right? Like you just mentioned, up to $50,000. Is that right?
That would be the minimum. 50,000 or more. 50,000 would be the minimum.
More.
Yeah.
Or more for a business, even if that business is relatively new.
You could have created literally today. Yes.
That seems impossible to me. Tell me about this.
Yeah, it really goes back to, like I said, that the reason why in practice they never discriminate against a corporate entity. They can only issue credit to an entity based upon what the entity even is.
Okay.
I know it sounds like I'm like saying something like super basic, but that's the point.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm
put
thinking.
This way. When you go to a bank and you say, I want to apply for a loan from my LLC, okay?
Yeah.
That makes 0 sense because you, Larry, the flesh and blood person, are completely separate than the person that is the EIN. So,
but don't they always ask me for my personal guarantee? Don't they? Isn't that what they do?
Because because the flesh and blood person is the one requesting it on behalf of another person, which is absurd.
Oh.
It would be no different than if I went into the bank and asked for a loan for Larry Sharp. That is absurd. It makes sense that I would be denied. Right, and only if I'm lucky would I be granted. You need the EIN by itself, independent of your flesh and blood person, to apply for that loan.
Got it. Because since it's a person, it's like I can't. Okay. So yeah, if I walk in and go, hey, I want to borrow 50 grand for Jerome, they'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's shady on your part, to be honest.
It's true. That's right. Yeah. And then if I give you the money and you just take and go, thanks for the money, Larry, you go piss it away, I'm in trouble now, right?
Right, right. You're
Yes.
mixing just it's just yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. So the goal then is to you go with your EIN only. Is it that simple? Like, do I just walk into a bank with my EIN and go, hey, can I do this? Is it that simple?
No, because once again, a flesh and blood person is going into a bank asking on behalf of another person. So this sounds a bit strange, but if you think about it digitally, it makes sense. The EIN all by itself must apply for credit,
Oh, okay.
which is kind of weird and almost kind of
It
abstract, but
is.
that's literally
Yes.
what needs to happen. And when you literally do that, that's when you're going to get no less than $50,000 of credit. That's the standard practice.
Now, credit, is that often cash up front? Is that usually a line of credit? Does it matter? Could it be either? Can it be both?
Either in both, typically line of credit, so revolving line of credit.
So basically, similar to a corporate credit card.
Yes, similar.
Got it. Okay, similar to a corporate credit card. Okay, why do I want that? If I'm a small business owner, why wouldn't I just apply for a business credit card, right? Why wouldn't I just do that? Wouldn't I just get a personal loan, right? Either way, I'm responsible for it, right? Or no?
Well, no, again, if personal loan is for personal purposes. So if you're going to use it for business purposes, you're basically in breach of contract, even if they never find out. So then why
Oh,
not keep
okay.
things black and white? Why not keep
Got
things
it.
black and white and tidy? And so
Okay.
if you say, okay, you managed to apply through the front door to get a business credit card, it was still out of order that the flesh and blood person made that request. So the amount on the limit on that business credit card is going to be significantly less than what you otherwise would get. So you,
That
so
I
you almost
have
certainly aren't going to
noticed.
start out. Yeah,
Yeah, I've done that before. Like I've gotten business credit cards before, and you're right. They have not been like, here's 50 grand. That has not
right,
been a thing.
right.
That has not been true. Okay. I see where you're going with that. All right. So look, so are you telling me then if someone right now, if someone right, someone listening right now is unsure where they should go, should they be talking to you? Should they be talking to their financial advisor first? Should they be, doing some soul searching first? What's the first step for someone who's what you just said? They are
Oh, I like
looking at the world right now and they're saying something's wrong. Like it's not working for me, right? It's not working. It's not working.
that.
I've been thinking about either a business or Uber or something because this isn't working. Is this the
Right.
right time to call the guy like you, or is this not the right time?
I like the way you put it with soul searching, right? So the fact that a person, if they're asking those questions, they are in the midst of soul searching. And what I would say is practical common sense is the name of the game. So talk to me by all means, and also talk to your advisor, and also talk to the people who you trust in your circles when it comes to finance, if you have any at all. So just listen and listen to your gut.
Okay. Now, what if I've gone to the next level? I'm not soul searching. I've
All
already
right.
figured this out. I tried the Uber thing or whatever, delivery service. I tried all those little side hustles. I didn't like them. It didn't work well for me. I just felt like I was just working it harder. That's all I was doing. So it's not what I want to do. I got to do something else. So maybe I'll start a business, right? Maybe I'll start a consulting business, or maybe I'll go online and become a cool YouTuber, right? Or maybe I'll try to get a brick and mortar place, right? And open up a coffee shop, whatever. I'm trying to do something, right? Is that the time to call you?
You can call me basically anytime, right? It's not going to hurt I'll listen and I will share what I know. And if I don't know, I'll be upfront about it and I'll try to refer you to somebody who does know. And then, and if I don't have someone to refer you to, I'll just tell you straight away. But it doesn't hurt because we're like-minded, right? Somebody who's serious and is trying to improve their life, well, that's me as well. So we're like-minded that one regard. So we'll find a way to help each other in one way, be it big or small. We can always talk. That's not a problem.
I like that. My VA lady says, I hope my side hustle becomes my full-time hustle.
Yeah.
So there we go. Well, that's one thing that I think if you've hit that to me feels like you're doing something right. Right? If your side hustle feels like a hard slog, like just a second job, then it's probably not a good side hustle. But if you feel like, wow, I'd like this side hustle to be my main full-time hustle, you probably hit something right. Am I right on this one?
I agree. I like to think of it as go down the rabbit hole of success.
Okay. So you've got to go down the rabbit hole and see if it's right or not.
Well, it's more like success may go down a road that you didn't expect. But if it's working for you, keep working it, regardless of where that goes.
Let me go one more piece if I could. What if I'm going down this rabbit hole? What if I'm like VA Lady and I think I found the right spot? Awesome. But what if I'm not like her and I went down a road and it feels like it's not working, but because I don't have enough cash? Like if I had, I believe at least, if I had enough cash, I could make this thing work, right? It doesn't work because I don't have enough cash and maybe because I don't have enough time, right? So if I would have put another 10 hours a week into this or whatever I believe, right? Then I can make it work. But I can't do 10 hours a week because I got to work those 10 hours at my full-time job so I can pay my bills. But if I had cash so I could pay my bills, well, then I could put the 10 hours in and I can make this thing work. Now, maybe I'm wrong at that, but I think that's true. Is that the time, do you think, to get a loan? Or is that a time to just kind of wait things out? Where's your head on that?
I would say that's the time to get a loan. And the nice thing about a line of credit specifically, so not literally a loan, but a line of credit, is that if you don't use it, you don't pay for it. But you kind of got it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I get a loan, I'm paying interest no matter what.
Right.
But if I get a line of credit, if I don't need it, it's fine.
Right.
Is a line of credit usually more expensive in interest than a loan or than credit cards? What's the most expensive usually for interest?
The line of credit up to 14%. Typical rates is 6 to 7%.
Oh, that's way lower than credit cards.
Yeah. Right. Right.
I mean, credit cards go as high as 26, 27. They go up, right? Yep. I mean, some are lower, and sometimes you get a good deal.
They treat business persons better than flesh and blood persons.
I need to be a business. I don't want to be a person anymore. I'm going to be a business person. It's better. I like it. And that, but the issue, you don't get to vote officially, but boy, you get to affect elections. That's for sure. But you don't get to vote. So yes. So VA Lady goes on to say, she says, yep, if I had the cash, when I have to do my other job, I would love to put 10 to 20 more hours per week for my soon-to-be full-time hustle. So she's thinking that same thing. So maybe she got to call you.
Yeah. Let's talk. See if we can figure something out.
Okay. Good. Well, I like the conversation we had. Did I miss something, Drum? Did you want to chat about something else that I might have missed? Or since we walked on the road, did I skip over something that we should have jumped on?
Well, I think it was a good conversation. I think there's a lot more to talk about in this space and how it all ties together. But I think we really hit some solid points to start the conversation.
Well, then why don't we talk offline and figure out what's a specific topic we should cover and do this again and do a deep dive on a specific topic. What do you think about that?
I like that. Yeah.
All right, guys, you're watching. If you have a topic you'd like us to talk about, please put it in the comments. If you want to reach out to me, feel free to reach out to me. If you want to reach out to Jerome, his contact info is literally in the show description. It's right there at the bottom of the screen. He will talk to you. Don't just mess with him for nothing because you like him. Just like talk to him for real stuff. Don't just hang out because you got stuff. You got to pay bills too, not just hanging out with you all day. So do that also, please. If you haven't already shared this, please share it. Click that like button. I appreciate it. Anything? Oh, I already got a request. Explaining Bitcoin like I'm 10 years old. We already got a request already. So maybe we'll do a crypto show. Maybe we'll do that.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, I want to say thank you so much for watching today. I appreciate the time you gave me. Jerome, thank you for giving us some time today.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. It's always great to chopping it up, Larry.
All right, guys, have a good one. I will see you all. I'll be on tonight, by the way, if you guys want to watch at 7 p.m. I will see you all very soon.